Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. Starting off with Silent Hill, because this is now back in the spotlight, and this time it's Silent Hill F that is making the waves. Konami recently revealed that Silent Hill F hit a massive milestone, 1 million copies sold, and it did it in record time too. The game launched worldwide on September the 25th, and by the very next day on September the 26th, it had already passed the 1 million mark. That's an incredible start, especially when you compare it to the Silent Hill 2 remake. That remake, which came out in October 2024, took about 3 days to reach the same milestone. Silent Hill F isn't just another horror game in the franchise, it's breaking ahead of its predecessor in every major market, including Japan. And that's something Konami was very quick to point out in a press release, calling the game's reception a great response both at home and abroad. Now, the team behind the game, Taiwanese studio NeoBards, also thanked players. In a message on social media, they wrote, "Silent Hill F has sold over 1 million copies in its first few days. Thank you to all players who joined this adventure of psychological horror. We hope you found the beauty in terror in this world set in Japan's Showa era." Now, Silent Hill F is set in Japan during the Showa period, a time filled with cultural change and unease. The story follows high school student Hinako Shimizu, whose hometown is suddenly swallowed by a thick fog. What was once a normal town quickly transforms into a nightmarish world filled with grotesque monsters, eerie silence, and puzzles that force players to think their way through survival. It's a classic Silent Hill, but with its own twist. Hinako isn't just walking through a haunted town, she's working her way through shifting realities, dealing with twisted creatures, and uncovering mysteries that blur the line between beauty and horror. The way the game balances psychological horror with its Japanese culture backdrop makes it a standout game, even with a franchise known for its disturbing atmosphere. But there is also something worth asking: how do fans really feel about this shift in tone and gameplay? Silent Hill F leans heavier into action compared with the survival horror roots of the series. According to reviews, there's a surprising twist halfway through the game that changes the pacing dramatically, putting more emphasis on combat than some longtime fans might expect. Now, on one hand, this risks alienating players who actually love the slower, tension-filled horror style the series is known for, but on the other hand, it opens the door for new players who might find a pure survival horror experience far too intimidating. Many of the reviews describe the game as a gorgeously grotesque spin-off that fascinates despite its flaws, and that really captures the essence of Silent Hill F. It might not be perfect, some puzzles are overly complicated, and the balance between action and horror isn't always as smooth, but it is still a strikingly beautiful and unsettling experience. Silent Hill F has not only proven that there's still a strong appetite for this legendary horror series, but it's also managed to carve out its own identity. It's selling faster than the Silent Hill 2 remake, it's sparking conversation amongst fans, and it's reminding us that the Silent Hill franchise can still evolve while keeping its eerie heart intact. And that does raise questions. Where does it go from here? What happens to the series going forward? Will Silent Hill keep experimenting with new styles, new locations, or will it return to its survival horror roots in the next installment? Let me know if you have picked this up and how you're finding the game so far. Me personally, I've not given this game a try. My diary, my schedule, my plans all lie in Yote, certainly for the next month or so. So maybe I'll give this game a playthrough later this year or maybe early next year. But if you've had the opportunity and you've picked this game up, I'd be interested in getting your thoughts. So guys, let's move on. Rockstar Games has built its reputation on some of the biggest titles in gaming history. Everybody knows Grand Theft Auto. Red Dead Redemption has its own loyal following. The Max Payne games were absolutely fantastic for their time, but for a lot of fans, there's one game that stands out for being different, and that game is Bully. Back on the PlayStation 2, Bully was huge. It told the story of Jimmy Hopkins, a troubled school kid struggling with the chaos of boarding school. It wasn't about robbing a bank or a shootout with the cops. Instead, it was about cliches, teachers, and life as a teenager in a world that was just as brutal in its own way as Liberty City. Fans loved it, but the burning question has always been, why did we never get Bully 2? Now, Dan Houser, co-founder of Rockstar, recently explained why we never got a sequel to the original Bully game. In a rare interview, he admitted it came down to something surprisingly simple, and that was bandwidth, or in other words, resources. Back when Rockstar made Bully, the team was far smaller than it is today. They couldn't juggle multiple big projects at once. Houser said, if you've got a small lead creative team and a small senior leadership crew, you just can't do all the projects that you want. And it wasn't just an excuse for this interview, he's been saying the same thing for many years. Over a decade ago, Houser explained that Rockstar chose to make Max Payne 3 instead of Bully 2 for the exact same reason, and that was limited bandwidth. Too many ideas and not enough time or people to execute those ideas. It does make sense when you think about it. I mean, today Rockstar is absolutely massive with multiple studios and thousands of employees across the globe. But back then, they had to pick their battles carefully, and the reality is, when you're managing franchises like Grand Theft Auto, smaller projects, no matter how much they are loved, sometimes do get left behind. But here's something to think about. Has the moment for Bully 2 already passed? Or do you think a new generation of players could fall in love with Jimmy Hopkins or someone similar, just like fans did back in 2006? That's a question Rockstar hasn't really answered yet. Would you like to see a Bully 2 made for the modern era? Let me know your thoughts, guys, and let's move on. Now, talking of games with long waits, let's take a look at another game that's been keeping players guessing, and that is Pragmata. Pragmata was first revealed back in 2020 during the PlayStation 5 showcase. The trailer teased a mysterious sci-fi world, a girl named Diana, and a tone that felt different from Capcom's usual games. Fans were intrigued, and at the time Capcom promised a 2022 release, but as we all know, that didn't happen. However, the game is now scheduled for 2026, 4 years later than expected. So what exactly happened? Why was the game delayed for such a long time? Now, according to the game's director Cho Yong-hee, the biggest hurdle in this game was making the game's hacking system work alongside its combat. Pragmata combines two mechanics, Diana's hacking abilities and Hugo's shooting. It sounds simple on paper, right? But balancing those systems so that one doesn't overpower the other turned out to be a massive challenge. Yongi explained that there was a lot of trial and error, lots of redesigns, lots of debates about how much screen space to dedicate to the hacking system while the player is in the middle of a firefight. Producer Naoto Oyama added that the time spent balancing both mechanics is the main reason development has taken so long. They wanted it to feel seamless, not like two separate games shoved into one. And honestly, when you think about that, isn't that better than just rushing out an unfinished game? I know it's disappointing when games get delayed, but personally, I'd rather just wait until the game is working, fixed, and ready to go, rather than having a game come out that's a little bit choppy and you're then waiting endlessly for continuous updates. And another interesting detail is that they don't regret announcing Pragmata so early. Yongi said that revealing the trailer back in 2020 gave the team motivation to push forward. Without that early pressure, the game might not have become what it is today. So yes, Pragmata has been delayed almost an entire console generation, but maybe, just maybe, those extra years will be worth the wait. I really do hope so. The second trailer that we saw this year at the June State of Play I thought was pretty good and has me really excited for this game. So let's move on and take a look at Dying Light the Beast. Techland's newest entry in the Dying Light franchise has already made the headlines. According to sales reports, the game has sold over 1.5 million copies across all platforms, with more than 1 million on PC alone. And what's even more interesting is that most of the buyers were already fans of the series. Over 80% had already played the original Dying Light, and nearly 77% had played Dying Light 2. That just shows how strong the fan base is for this game. The excitement around the beast started even before the release. Techland revealed that the game had sold over 1 million pre-orders. Franchise director Timon Smektala even said that they decided to launch the game a little earlier than planned, just to surprise fans, which is a rare thing in today's gaming industry where delays are often the norm. And when you look at the game itself, it's clear to see why fans are jumping in. The game's director described its setting as the most diverse world Techland has ever created. We're talking old towns, industrial areas, swamps, farmlands, and even villages, all stitched together to give players different experiences as they explore the game. It's not just one big zombie-infested city anymore. It's a world that changes with every biome, keeping the gameplay fresh. Of course, The Beast isn't perfect. There are some problems with the game. Some critics pointed out that the protagonist, Kyle Crane, still lacks a bit of depth as a character, but overall the reviews have been quite strong, with praise for its traversal, story and atmosphere. I suppose the next question fans of the series will be asking is, when is Dying Light 3 coming out? I mean, have you played The Beast? Let me know your thoughts on this. From what I've seen so far, it seems to look pretty good. I am tempted to get this, but like I said earlier, I'm not available to play any of the games for the next month or so. I will be seeking vengeance in Yote. So maybe I'll come back later to The Beast in 2026 at some point. Now, moving on to some great news for the gaming industry as a whole. I just wish this was happening in the UK or in the States. The Tokyo Game Show has been around for many decades. It's one of the most recognizable gaming events in the world. But after a successful 2025 showcase, the organizers dropped a surprise announcement. TGS 2026 is expanding from 4 days to 5. Now that might not sound like a big change at first, but here's the interesting thing. It's the first time the format has been adjusted since 2002. That means for over 20 years, the schedule has stayed the same. Tokyo Game Show actually began in 1996. At first, it was held twice a year, one in the spring and one event in the fall. But starting in 2022, the organizers decided to cut it down to just one large event in the autumn, and that's the format we've seen ever since. Over the years, though, the way fans experience game announcements has changed a lot. Many big companies moved to a digital showcase. You've got Nintendo Direct, PlayStation State of Play, Xbox's digital showcase, and of course the Summer Game Fest, and many of its events were all digital for quite a long time. These events are easy to access online, and for a while it seemed like the industry might be moving this way from huge physical expos through to only digital. That's why the new expansion for the Tokyo Game Show is really interesting. Instead of scaling back, the Tokyo Game Show is actually growing. In 2026, there will be an extra public day, which means fans will have 3 days instead of 2 to explore the show floor, test out game demos, buy exclusive merchandise, and attend live panels with developers and publishers. So what's exactly pushed this change? Because the organizers haven't given an official reason, and many believe it comes down to the big names showing up in recent years. Companies like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft have all returned with major presentations, which naturally drives more attendance. Capcom, for example, has used TGS to drop some major surprise announcements in the past, and when those announcements and moments go viral online, it adds even more fuel to the hype, making TGS one of the biggest gaming conventions still running strong. And think about that for a moment. A lot of in-person expos struggled after 2020, right? After the COVID period. Some events had to be scaled back or even shut down permanently, like E3. But Tokyo Game Show not only survived, it's thriving enough to expand. Doesn't that say something about the importance of physical gaming events? Fans who attend in person get an experience you just cannot replicate online. Trying out a demo months before the release, meeting developers face to face, being surrounded by thousands of people who love games just as much as you do. It's the kind of energy that digital events cannot fully capture. And clearly organizers believe demand is still strong enough to justify adding another day. Of course, it's also worth asking, could this expansion mark the start of a bigger shift? Will this have a knock-on effect on other organizations? If TGS 2026 becomes the most successful one yet, will other expos around the world follow the same path? Will someone or some organization revive and bring back E3? Or is Tokyo Game Show unique because of its long history and cultural influence in Japan? Either way, what we know for sure is that TGS 2026 is shaping up to be one of the biggest ever global gaming events in the calendar. 5 full days of announcements, networking, and fan experiences. For gamers, that means more chances to see what's coming next. For developers, it's more opportunities to showcase their work directly to the fans. And for the industry as a whole, it's proof that physical events still matter in the industry, to the developers and also to the fans. So the real takeaway here is that while online showcases might be convenient, there is still a hunger and a desire for in-person experiences. Tokyo Game Show is doubling down on that idea, and in 2026, fans are going to get more of it than ever before. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the articles discussed in the video today. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.